What retired millionaires regret. That's what was in store for today's episode of Joe Knows Retirement. We work with 1,000+ clients, and this is something we see very, very, very often with our clients, that they get to this point, they've done so well. I wrote the book called The Midwestern Millionaire. Those are people who are hardworking, diligent savers. They're frugal, and they've done all the right things up until this point to give them a great, great retirement. You would have thought that they would be extremely successful in most cases, especially with most of them having a pension, which only 20% of people have, and having $1 million or more saved, which less than 10% of people have. And so they're in the 2% population of the country because of those two numbers combined. Only 2% of people have a high income like that and a high net worth in retirement, and they still have regrets. I know you're wondering, what could this look like? And I'm going to give you a little hint. It may not necessarily be as much money or financial regrets, because again, they have financial freedom at this point. They can do what they want, when they want, with who they want at this point, but maybe it's regret of what they've missed out on. Maybe that's opportunities. Maybe that's health. Maybe that's time. And so this is something that will be helpful for anyone watching this channel. So most people watching are in their 50s and 60s. And so if you're in your 50s, hopefully you can get ahead of this. If you're in your 60s, there's always time. It's never too late to start to make sure that you have that retirement that you're dreaming of or you're planning for, to have the most with what you have.
Joe knows taxes.
Joe knows the market.
Joe knows Social Security.
Joe knows income planning.
Joe knows pickleball? No.
This is Joe Knows Retirement.
So my name's Joe Schmitz. I'm the CEO and founder of Peak Retirement Planning. We're based in Columbus, Ohio, but we serve clients all across the country, and we love what we do. We love this educational content that we get to produce. I get featured in Kiplinger twice a month. I'm on TV quite a bit, and obviously we have one of the top retirement planning channels here on YouTube that is specifically focused on those with pensions and 1 million plus or more saved in that Midwestern millionaire field. Now, we serve clients all across the country, so even if you're not in the Midwest, I hope this content can still relate to you. Don't tune off yet. You can still consider yourself maybe a middle-class millionaire or a blue-collar millionaire. We've got a client in Florida who says that they're the middle-class millionaire since they don't live in the Midwest. And we allow that to be the case because it's obviously more about the values and the principles that have been in place to get to this point. So let's first start off by, what are these things that these people regret? What are these people who are overly successful regret? The first regret they have is saying no too often and sacrificing too much. We had one client say before, they said, I've done such a good job at this point. I don't have to worry about money, but I told my son no too many times. I could have done more with him at that time than I am now. And I could help him and give him more money now, but he's got a good paying job. His wife has a good paying job. The kids are successful. There's not much else that I can do to add joy into his lives. But if I would have done it earlier, then I could have given him more. And this is something we hear all the time. We have another client, at 60 years old, they said, we got 15 years, we're gonna make the most of it. And they went 2 years into their retirement and had done nothing. They said no to everything, and they, continued to work when they should have retired, to reach their goals. They had enough, but they just didn't take the time to really realize how well that they've done. And so they came to us at 62. And we put together a spending plan for them for 13 years, and I've been holding them accountable to it each year to make sure that they can truly get what they've planned for with their retirement. They sacrifice 30 or 40 years to work, hard work. Again, these Midwestern millionaires are working hard. They're living lives of service. I mean, most people with pensions are with that company for 20 plus years in most cases to even be eligible for a pension. And so for you, you've been getting up every day, 9 to 5, working your tail off to make sure that you can have what you have today, which that can sacrifice a lot of time and opportunities back in, you may not have much time for vacations with your children and with your family at that time. You may have been coming home late. You may have missed events. You may have missed dinners because of how hard you were working to get to where you are. And that's what ultimately made you successful. So we can't necessarily feel bad for it at this point, but it is a reality that was the case. And so I say all that to say, the sacrifice has meant something, right? The hard work has paid off at this point. And so that's where we really try to step in and encourage clients. You can't change the past no matter how bad you want to. If you wish you could have said yes to your 10-year-old son, man, that would have been nice. But there's now stuff you can do. And so what we challenge that client with specifically is, what can you do for your grandkids who are 10 years old? What can you do to give them the experience that you told your son no to? And then their eyes lit up. They had a huge smile on their face. And this is where they have true purpose in their retirement, is being able to share these experiences. And so something they do at this point is they do a family vacation every single year. And this isn't a little vacation that, just somewhat nice. I mean, we're talking a full resort. We're talking a cruise. We're talking a trip internationally to see some of the greatest things in the world that they get to experience with their loved ones that will never be able to be taken away from them. And so that's what gets really excited about this conversation, is don't look at the negatives that you missed. Look at the opportunities you now have because of this sacrifice. So although it can be regret, again, we're optimistic here. We always want to see, what can we do to make this better? The second regret that we hear often is a big one. And this one's probably going to be gut-wrenching for anyone who's still working or considering what to do, if they should retire or not. And the second regret is working too long. Now, another regret on this is retiring too soon, I'll also say. So those are number 2 and number 3 points here. But let's start off with the first regret of retiring earlier, is what they wish they would have done. And so, for our clients, again, you can't get back your health. You can't get back your time. If you keep work, that's going to limit as much time and years that you have in what we call the go-go years. The go-go years are earlier in retirement, when you're healthy, when you're active, and when you're full of life, and you got a lot to do and a lot to give during that time. And so a lot of people that work through those years may end up retiring when now they may not want to travel as much. Now they may not have the investment into their health that they probably should have taken with having that extra time to do so. And so that's where it can really run into problems. And so if you are still working now and you're thinking, I'm just dreading this work right now, I wish I could be doing something different. If you have enough money, again, you've bought yourself financial freedom from saying no, from sacrificing, to be able to make those types of decisions. So maybe you do look to retire earlier and live that more purposeful retirement and spend those early years while you're healthy, doing what you want, when you want, with who you want, is something that we really encourage our clients to think about. Now, there's also a lot of other considerations, which I'll lean into point number 3 here, which is retiring too early could be a negative and a regret that we've seen clients have, because now they lose a sense of purpose and they lose a sense of social closeness with the people they work with who could be considered friends of theirs. And now they're just not sure when they wake up in the morning. They don't have that pep in their step. They don't have that energy that they once had because they're not sure what they want to do. A lot of people have their identity in work and they lose that when they retire. And so in that case, understand it's okay to keep working in retirement. It's okay to keep working. It's okay if number 2 is not a regret for you, but maybe number 3 would be. If you find a lot of purpose in what you do, that is awesome. In my opinion, we're not called to retire. We're always called to live a life of purpose. We're always called to make sure that we can use the most with our God-given talents every day that we're alive. And so whether that's volunteering, you may not have to work, but maybe you could volunteer, or maybe you could spend more time with loved ones and mentor others. And maybe it's less stress of a job, so you can invest more in your health and time, and maybe you don't have to work 60 hours a week anymore, and you can do something that's a little more enjoyable to you, that really allows you to utilize that time and talents that you have, that you've gained all these years, all this wisdom you've gained, to be able to put into better use at this point, with whatever your skill set is and whatever gives you the most joy at this point. Because again, maybe you worked a job that you didn't absolutely love, but you got you to a point where now you could do in your second career something you really, really wanted to do. And maybe you run at a loss. Maybe it's you start your own business and you lose money, but it's something you enjoy and you have the money to be able to do something like that. And maybe it can impact others and worth the loss there. And so those are 2 points to really consider of which one is you. And we see both ends of the spectrum. Some people say, I love retirement, I'm never working again. Some people say, I'm kind of depressed a little bit in retirement, I'm not really sure what to do. And so sometimes, if you're one or the other, you look at the other person and say, that person's crazy, right? So it's about understanding what your situation is and what you want to do with your retirement. The fourth regret we have is not spending enough on travel and health earlier in retirement. We already touched on this a little bit, but I really want to emphasize the health point of this. You can really invest in your health and do a lot, right? Maybe you could Eat organic and fresh meals and healthy meals every day that can improve your health, help you lose weight, help you sleep better, help you be more active, and maybe add some years to your life and be an enjoyable retirement versus being in pain or misery the entire retirement. Now you have the time and money to invest in your health. So maybe you either cook and you maybe look to make sure that you're spending extra money on groceries to get the highest quality ingredients and freshest ingredients to pour back into your health, or maybe you do something like a meal delivery. That's what I do at this time. I love to cook, but I don't necessarily have the time anymore running peak retirement planning and maximizing my life. And I love to run, bike, and work out. And so I love to spend time with my family. And so based on all that, I want to make sure I can delegate the areas of my life that I don't enjoy as much or that can still add a lot of value to me, but I may not have the time to do so. So, a lot of it's about buying back your time. So if that's the point of like, I don't like to cook, I'd rather go out to eat. Well, maybe you look to do meal delivery so you can get that impact there. Or maybe you look to go to a healthy restaurant that's maybe a little more costly than what you would typically go to because now you have the money to invest. And another one that people don't think about is think about your enjoyment. Think about your comfort. Think about your overall health. Things like massages or chiropractors or getting treatments or a personal trainer. That can all be stuff that adds a lot of value to retirement. And you've probably put that off all your life, being that Midwestern millionaire, of being so frugal, the best saver and the worst spender. You probably said, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to waste my money. I don't want to do that. And then, a few weeks later, I won't even remember that feeling and I'm not going to waste my money on that. Stop being like that anymore. You've got the money, you've got the time. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. We feel a deep sense of responsibility and, to encourage our clients in this area. We actually have health experts come out and speak to our clients to talk about different opportunities that they can utilize their money. Because a lot of people just haven't really focused on this area. They haven't really studied this area to know, what do I do? What's right? What's wrong? There's so much information out there. But if you start somewhere, then you can really look to increase that moving forward. And then when it comes to travel, a lot of people don't travel because they don't want to do all the work to do it. So something I do personally, I use a travel agent. I don't want to have to worry about planning my trip and be stressed. I'm not taking 100 days off a year. And so when I do take time off, I want to maximize my time. If I'm over in Australia and over in Europe or wherever I am, I don't want to sit there and try to figure out what I'm going to do. I want someone to have it already figured out who's an expert, that if I only have a week to explore in Barcelona, Spain, then I want to make sure I see everything that I want to see. I don't want to have to sit there and try to figure it out for half the day and then only see 50% of what I could have with the time I was there. And so that's why we always encourage, work with a travel agent. A lot of times they can even find you good deals and you don't even have to worry about it. You may not even really overpay or pay more in those scenarios. And so that's something we also help our clients. We actually help them get situated with a travel agent so that make sure that they can travel stress-free and not have to worry about it. And then the other thing we encourage our clients is, hey, splurge a little bit. You're not going to be able, if you're going to go to Europe, how many times are you going to go to Europe? Do it well. Do it really well. Enjoy it. You've got the wealth. You've got the opportunity. If it doesn't impact any goals in our plan, then that's something that we really want to see done for our clients. The other thing that we see millionaires regret is spending time building relationships. So whether you're still working, whether you are retired, I think anyone can say they regret this. I think this is something we all can always improve on and look at and see what can we do differently or better. And so we already talked about some opportunities here today that we can do to really invest in our relationships. So maybe it means retiring early so you can go get lunch and dinners with more friends and loved ones. Maybe it means going on trips with more people, right? If you're going on that Europe trip and you're having your travel agent book it, let's have some friends and pull them along and do that as well. And obviously, as they always say, when you're on your deathbed at the end of the day, the things that you're going to worry about most are those relationships that you had with people and those experiences that you shared with them. You're not going to worry about the amount of money you have or what that looks like, because you can't take this money to heaven, as we always say. There's no U-Haul behind your hearse. And so how do we maximize those moments in time now with the people that mean the most to us, right? Financial freedom, I say this all the time. It's about doing what you want, what you enjoy, whenever you want, at whatever time, right? If you want to do it today, next week, tomorrow, you're not restricted to do that. And you get to do it with whoever you want. Who are your loved ones? Who are the people you really want to pour into? Who are the people that really pour into you and give you more energy after you spend with them? That's the time that we want to see spent with those people. The other thing that millionaires regret, that if we could go back and, if they passed away, if we could go back and hear what they were saying, it would be having the right estate planning documents in place. So I know this is more of a financial thing to be aware of, but only 30% of people die with an estate plan in place. And so this is something that we see a lot of people are missing, but a really easy thing to do is just go get estate planning documents in place. This is something we help all of our clients. We facilitate estate planning documents for them so we can have that true one-stop shop so they don't have to go 10 different places to get help with their retirement planning. But this is such a simple thing to do. It takes very little time up front to do. You may have to update it once, twice, 3 times over time during your retirement based on rule changes, based on if you move or if you move states or whatever it may be. But having that in place, peace of mind to know that your wealth is going to get transferred to whoever it needs to be. So making sure the beneficiaries are set up the right way, exploring if you need a trust or not, looking to make sure that you have everything set up so that your house doesn't go to probate. Make sure you either have that assigned to a trust or a transfer on death if your estate allows it, so that you can go and pass away to make sure that your spouse is taken care of, but also your children or loved ones who will receive your inheritance because you've worked so hard for this. So let's make sure we steward it well so that the state doesn't decide what we get to do with our money. Let's decide to make sure that that can pass on and be used most efficiently. And a lot of times too, we always think it's important to work with a team who works with your children as well. And so we always encourage our clients that their children can work with us to get more help there, because once you pass, if both spouses pass, that money is going to go to the next generation. Inheritance are typically lost or spent. And so having a plan in place can ensure that what your legacy is, what your values are, can live on for maybe not even your children, but what about your grandchildren and generations beyond? And generational wealth transfer is so important and so much of an opportunity for this crowd in the 2% Club because of how well that you've done. It's likely you're not going to spend all this money, even if you really, really, really try, is the case for most of our clients. And then the last regret I'll say that millionaires have, and this is something that maybe I'm biased because I get to see, people who reach out to us, they typically are ready to work with us. And one of the regrets they always say is, I wish I would have started working with you sooner. And obviously, I'm not hearing from the other people who aren't currently working with an advisor. But regardless, I hear this a lot from people who reach out to us. And so if this is you, just make sure you're getting help, holding you accountable, all the things we talked about here today. But also, if you can put together the right tax strategy, the right investment strategy, the right planning strategies in place, then it's not outside the realm of possibility to add thousands or hundreds of thousands of more dollars to your net worth that you could either spend, gift to your loved ones, or give to charities or organizations, but also allow you to live with that purpose that we're talking about here today. So if that's you, you're looking for help, feel free to reach out to us. We can schedule a time to see if we could be a good fit to work together. If you like what we're talking about, you like the videos we put together, maybe you've read my books, maybe you've seen us on TV, this is what we do. We do it for the 2% Club, the Midwestern Millionaires. We love providing this educational content, but we also love helping those and having lifelong relationships with them as well. So you'll see a pop-up on the screen to click that to schedule a time with us, or if you go to the description or to our website, you can do so, and we'll look forward to seeing how we can serve you further here and help you live that enjoyable retirement, whether you schedule with us or not. Feel welcome to this channel, subscribe to it, and we'll see you on the next one.